Hi, good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Bitcoin Morning Brief. I'm Leah Walls and here with Tone. Here in DC, OPM closed the federal government today, so it may be a little windy outside, but we'll see what happens. Tone, is it windy up there in New York?
I don't think so. It was kind of cold last night, so I actually closed like all my balcony doors and windows. So I have no idea what's going on outside. I kind of live for podcasting these days. I will, I will get some air today though. So we'll see if there is an evening show or not.
Nice. All right, Singapore first. Here we go.
Do it.
All right. So you have, this is what I found very interesting about this. You have Singapore's deputy prime minister saying that there's no risk concerns. Then you have Singapore's central bank saying exactly the opposite. So despite the squabble in the press between government departments, I was curious, you've been in Singapore, what did you notice while you were there?
Well, while I was in Singapore, it's, oh, you want to, oh yeah, we are like that. Okay, cool. So I didn't really notice the government at all. Didn't really notice police. Didn't really notice much while I was in Singapore. It was actually fairly free. I know, like, you can't do drugs there. It's going to end very badly for you. Many other things. But just like any other government, no matter how small or large your country is, one branch of the government isn't always communicating with another branch of the government, right? So just because, one financial regulator says, yeah, this is okay, a completely different financial regulator will say, no, this is not okay, right? I mean, you're the one in Washington. You probably know this all too well, and you've probably worked with a lot of these people.
Yeah, definitely. But especially with the people on the cruise. Did this ever come up?
Not really, not at all. But yeah, like it's just you just have to understand that like the government is the opposite of a well-oiled machine. They're kind of all over the place, right? And most of it is like egos of people that want to move up in the government, right? So you have one guy from one branch of government, and this applies to all governments. One guy in one branch of government thinks that he will move up further by being, a little relaxed on regulation, and another guy thinks he can move up further by being, a stifler on regulation. Just look at somebody like Ben Lawsky out of New York, who gave us the bit license in New York and now is working for Ripple, right? And I heard lots of stories about Ben Lawsky from way before we heard of him in the crypto space, and how he cracked down on a completely other area of finance that was very, very frustrating for small-time money managers, and how he cracked down on them and basically eliminated that sector from existence in New York. So like I said, so it really depends on the government department and the people and the egos of the people in charge.
Yeah. All right, moving to the next one. Australia can now purchase Bitcoin, Ethereum across 1,200 newsstands in win for adoption. You've definitely talked about Ripple. Sorry, that's the next story. My bad. So what I found interesting also about this was Australia wasn't particularly encouraging towards Bitcoiners before, but now it seems that obviously they're loosening up quite quickly. And yes, I mean, all you need in this story is a QR code. What do you think?
I don't know. Again, like, these stories are always a little bit weird to me, especially in this case. Like, again, Australia is another one that goes back and forth, right? Australia is the one that sent the Australian tax SWAT team over to fake Satoshi's house. I have a little mixed feelings on that. I mean, I want that guy to go away, but I also don't know if I want the IRS to bring their SWAT team to actually take him away, right? Like, I'm a little mixed on that one, like on my views. But so that's another one. But in general, right? Like, I have a lot of people watching me out of Australia. I'm going to be there in all of November. I will do my seminars there. I want to see this firsthand. Please go check this out. It's a minimum of 50 Australian dollars to buy these things. Now, here's the thing, right? Like, Bitcoin is not that intuitive to use. And people that are running these little kiosks in the middle of the street, again, I'm thinking like New York and other countries. I haven't been to Australia yet. Again, you're not going to have like the brightest of the brightest running these kiosks in the middle of the street. So like, how are these people going to manage it, right? Like my problem was because I own a physical business, and I've been accepting Bitcoin there since 2013. No one has ever paid. And there's, at this point, like even as of 2015, it would have been impossible for them to pay. A customer would show up, I want to pay in Bitcoin. Like all the employees that I trained on how to accept a Bitcoin payment, they've been long gone, like for over a year. Like I'm not going to keep retraining an employee how to accept a Bitcoin payment. So whoever did this with 1,200 kiosks, if one of these kiosks, if no one comes in to buy Bitcoin for like 3 months, there could have been like a 3-employee turnover of working at this kiosk, right? Like, who's going to be training all of these people to know what the hell a QR code is? Well, like, I'm really curious how this is going to work out.
Yeah. From a business strategy perspective, I think though it is an interesting rollout strategy, and for sure with the differentiator, I think it is kind of sexy that they're doing it on these newsstands. It's, I think, kind of interesting. Although I don't know how many people go to newsstands anymore. At least it doesn't happen so much here in DC, maybe in New York. But do you think that this is a good strategy or not? I mean,
it's a good strategy if it's rolled out at a perfect time. The reason why like all these businesses started accepting Bitcoin in late 2013, early 2014 is because Bitcoin was all over the news. But then you enter a 15-month bear market, and people weren't really spending Bitcoin to begin with, and you run into a situation where you will lose way more productivity and way more money constantly retraining your staff to accept Bitcoin payments that show up once every 3 months. Like the $5 that you will save on accepting a Bitcoin payment, or the 3 extra customers you will get by accepting a Bitcoin payment, will not make up for the loss of productivity of your time being wasted retraining a new minimum wage employee to understand Bitcoin.
Yeah, definitely a barrier to entry. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, with time, like eventually I would like to see Bitcoin be like the octopus card in Hong Kong, where every single 7-Eleven, every single little stand has that octopus card. So you basically have one card in your wallet that you preload with cash anonymously, and you can use this card with an NFC field. You just leave it in your wallet and you touch, the payment pad at any restaurant, any convenience store, any public transportation, pretty much anything. Almost anything in Hong Kong could be paid with this card that is actually free. You put like a 50 Hong Kong dollar deposit, which is like, I don't know, $10 or something like that. You have a deposit on that card. So if you lose the card, you lose the deposit. And that's it. And then you preload this card with cash anywhere you go. Will one day Bitcoin be that kind of system? I hope so. But every person in Hong Kong knows how to use the octopus card. Every store clerk, every minimum wage employee knows how to use the octopus card. That's not what's happening in Bitcoin right now. So I would love to walk up to one of these stands and try to buy Bitcoin, and I guarantee you it's going to be frustrating.
Yeah. Hopefully though, I would see this as a hypothesis to test and pivot accordingly based on customer feedback, right? From kind of a MVP perspective, but again, not just seeing it from a tech of minimum viable product, but really just as a hypothesis. So we'll see if it works, and if it works or if it doesn't work, hopefully that not just the company that's rolling this out will take all that into consideration and hopefully really log that data, but also any other, companies that try to utilize this strategy in the future. And maybe it's not newsstands, given your good comment that, maybe it's too difficult to train. Okay. Liechtenstein. Very excited about your thoughts on this one. If I cut to the chase on what I see interesting, for me, this story isn't just about competition between banks trying to facilitate cold storage to help their clients out because it's difficult to protect crypto assets, but surreptitiously getting banks into their glory days of hiding money for wealthy clients. What do you think?
Well, the first thing that jumps out at me, and if you want to highlight one third paragraph, right? I love how the story is phrased as getting, the European banking of like Switzerland and Liechtenstein back into the glory days with a bank that was founded in 1998. Again, like that's the first thing that jumped out at me. Though I guess 1998 was kind of long ago for a lot of Bitcoiners. They probably weren't even born yet. But it's a good idea until you read that they're doing Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ripple, and Ether. So that tells me that the people at this bank don't understand blockchains. They don't understand crypto. They don't understand, they can't separate a scam from a real project. So chances are, I don't expect this bank to exist in the near future because they obviously don't know what they're doing. Because like Ripple is not even a crypto. It's just a centralized token by Ripple Labs, and it can disappear tomorrow. It's not like the rest, right? And Bitcoin Cash has no developers, and Ethereum is a technological, unsustainability. So, I mean, Litecoin, I can kind of somewhat borderline be okay with. So automatically, this tells me that this bank has absolutely no idea what they're doing, and putting your crypto, allowing this bank to be in charge of your cold storage is probably a bad idea, right? But again, that's my bias towards scam coins, which in my opinion is not a bias, but to others it's a bias, right? So those are my general thoughts, and we'll see. I mean, Liechtenstein is one of the countries. It's one of those, city-states, in my opinion, along with Hong Kong and Singapore, though Hong Kong is quasi part of China. Or part of China. Again, depends how you look at it, right? So it's like Liechtenstein falls into this niche of like country states that have a completely different scale of everything, right? And they could be one of the leaders in this space, but I guarantee you this bank will not be the leader because this bank clearly has thought leadership problems because I don't think they understand what they're doing. Based on the assets that they're offering you cold storage of.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no such thing as cold storage of Ripple, right? Like it doesn't exist because Ripple is not decentralized, right? Like like the whole concept is just, it tells me that the people at the crypto division of that bank is grossly incompetent.
Yeah. From just like a housekeeping point of view, obviously the United States, our IRS point of view, is trying to make it more and more difficult for Liechtenstein, Cayman Islands, Switzerland to do what they've been doing, right? How do you think that at least Americans, or how would it even go about right now, given just how the news is rolled out and how the government's been trying to crack down on this for
I don't think the U.S. government is really scared of Liechtenstein. Switzerland, perhaps, and if Switzerland, if the Swiss banks that have been around for 100 years, if they start doing this, and I believe that they will, I believe that Switzerland will get their, banking privacy back by utilizing Bitcoin. And I think that people at the tops of those banks and those, like historical families that kind of rule those banks, that has a much greater chance of providing this safety. But Liechtenstein is trying to get in the game, and I don't think, I don't think all the money is going to move to Liechtenstein. It's just, I think it's just a little too small. It's possible. I mean, all you need is a tiny strip of land. I mean, hell, Liberland might do it for all we know, but you don't really need much because it's all digital money, right? All you need is, one computer on your land in order to be the private banking capital of the world, thanks to Bitcoin now, and even in traditional markets. Because remember, most money is always digital. So to be the banking capital of the world, all you really need is a couple of smart developers and literally, one computer with 100 backups, right, all over the world. So it's doable, but we'll see. We'll see which way they go. I'm sure the politics of Europe are going to set in there on Liechtenstein because they don't exactly have the kind of history and the global standing that somebody like Switzerland does. So I think Switzerland has a much better chance at achieving this goal if they want to go in that direction.
Oh, Liechtensteiners. Yep. All right. Your favorite.
Oh, yeah.
So payment provider, FleetCor to Pilot, Ripple's cryptocurrency. So I guess just, from my background, like each time that I've started a company, I quickly learned that I didn't know everything, and it's kind of funny to me because Ripple acts as if they know exactly what their customers want, and success when it comes to business is usually defined by making a certain amount of money, growing your company at a certain rate, popularity or power. But a business really can only be successful by any of those measures if it solves a problem and if people obviously are willing to pay for it. So do you think that this could be the opportunity that Ripple needs to finally penetrate the market?
Oh God, no. My first impressions of this article when it came across my radar last night over Twitter is I'm looking at a picture of a bunch of cars, and I'm like, what does a car company doing with Ripple, right? And when you start reading the article, I don't think this has anything to do with cars. In fact, I'm not even sure what the companies are doing. So a couple of things, if you scroll down in that article, if you just like read this article, like I hate long articles. Like my attention span on reading is incredibly small. But this thing needed to be like 40 pages, okay? Ripple has multiple products, X Current, X Rapid, and God knows what else, right? You can also see that this is a company that's a subsidiary of another company that looks like a subsidiary of another company. And it looks like, again, it's the podcast is like what Bitcoin Uncensored used to say back in the day. Podcast is no longer with us. They had this, they coined this phrase, turtles all the way down. It's like nobody knows what the hell they're doing. It's like one thing is wrapped inside another thing is wrapped inside another thing. And they're dealing with Ripple, which is itself one product is wrapped inside another product is wrapped inside another product. And they're trying to shove this unnecessary, useless Ripple token in some of these products, but not all of their products, because they have to know that the Ripple token is a total scam and is totally useless for their services. So they obviously Ripple obviously is providing services that have nothing to do with the Ripple token. They're also providing services that have everything to do with, well, not everything, but even a tiny, tiny part to do with the Ripple token, because they have to shove this Ripple token down some product's throat in order to justify the existence of a Ripple token. Because if you remove the Ripple token, they're all probably going to go to prison at this point, right? So like you can't remove it, and you have to you have to try to push that Ripple token onto your services until no smart service is actually using your Ripple token. Like, what on earth is it good for? It's like in this article, they're talking about, oh my God, payments are so much faster with the Ripple token. Really? How? You're converting some kind of fiat into Ripple, then you're converting that Ripple back into fiat on the other end. There's no way Ripple adds any efficiency into it. Whatever the X Rapid product is, the Ripple token itself is totally useless to that product. So they will continue to pump out all of this news in order to justify the existence of a Ripple token that really should not exist. So that's about it. And I know CoinDesk has to put 1 million disclaimers because CoinDesk is owned by Digital Currency Group, which is an investor in Ripple.
Yeah.
So again, it's like subsidiaries on top of subsidiaries on top of subsidiaries, right? So this is what everybody hated about the financial sector, and you're reliving it. You're redoing it, and now it's okay because you're making money on it. But when Wall Street makes money on it, it's bad.
Yeah. Also putting it out there for the viewers, my the lights went out like twice already, so hopefully this wind actually doesn't pick up anymore, but it should be fine. Just last, comment, I guess, in my eyes is, FleetCor, it has 2.7 billion in assets, which actually is fairly small.
So is FleetCor a car company or what?
Publicly traded company, to my understanding.
All right, that's the thing, right? Like if I would love to reach out to someone in FleetCor, right? Like once the Tone-Based YouTube channel is like a global media empire, we can immediately call FleetCor. I will get on the phone with whoever FleetCor has that has their brain trust of blockchains at FleetCor, And I will absolutely embarrass this person with preferably a recorded phone call that whoever is at FleetCor has no clue what they are doing in their relationship with Ripple. None whatsoever.
Yep. All right, off screen share. On to prices. Saw your show last night. You want to see what's up today? What's going on?
Sure. Let's go ahead and pull up price share, screen share for price. All right, so the weekly chart is all of a sudden not looking as hot as it did when I woke up this morning. Even when I woke up this morning, we were near the top of the candle, trading at just above 11,000. The day is not over yet. You know, we still have a good 10 hours to go. So let's see how the day closes. Like I said yesterday, my perfect week would be closing at the top of the week, but below 11,500. That would be the perfect week. The daily candle, which actually looked way more promising than it did. It looked way more promising 2 hours ago when I woke up than right now. I did draw my cup and handle last night, only not as preemptively as some people were drawing it a week and a half ago, but we were basically one candle away from drawing it. I would like to see a close in the vicinity of 11,100, breaking above my third point of resistance. So we are still only have broken 2 points of resistance, one being the trend line, the other one being the 50-day moving average. We broke those yesterday by closing above 2 of them. We have 3 more points of resistance. I would love to knock one more out today, at latest tomorrow, by closing above the 128-day moving average in the vicinity of 11,100. And then that would complete the cup and handle and set us up for one more break of the last 2 resistance points in the $11,250 area. And that can set us up for a breakout, which would be very, very nice. Zooming in further, the 4-hour chart is pulling back a little bit. Would have been nice to get, a couple of more candles of upside, but we have flipped price. This blue line is actually my stop loss line, like I was talking about last night. And as you can see, the candle from 7 p.m. Eastern time actually gave you a new swing high intra-candle and a new candle close. So that means is if you were in this bullish trade, your stop loss should have been raised to at least the bottom of that candle, if not into that candle, because this is known as an expanded range candle. Those that attend my seminars know what that means. And then your stop loss would have been hit, and your bullish trade on the 4-hour from a green 2 breaking the green 1 would have been profitable. Now, the other thing you're looking at here is, all right, is there a short trade based on a 4-hour chart? Because the current 4-hour candle is now trading below the prior red 1 candle, and the answer is maybe. The reason why it's maybe is because the daily trend is still positive and the weekly trend is neutral. So if you dare to take on this bearish trade, you have to understand that this has to be very swift and very, very short, because you are going against a trend, like a higher level trend. Your stop loss would, of course, be the swing high. And the moment you have any money on this trade, you definitely want to set a break-even stop loss, or just take your damn profit. All right. Zooming in on the 1-hour chart, we're having a bad hour right now. The 1-hour chart probably did not do a very good job helping you time the top early this morning or late last night. Kind of flatness at the top. And if it was more bullish looking than bearish looking, and of course you would already be out of this trade because you don't know how low it can go right now, but we could go all the way back down to about 10,500. So at this point, I would be a little hesitant with my bullish trades. You can always jump in at 11,300 for the big breakout with the probability in your direction. That's pretty much it for me. Quick announcement, because everyone's waiting. I have Richard Hart back I'll find out why after me and Chris DeRose kind of went at it about him the other day, and I believe he saw that video. So Richard Hart is supposed to be on in about 2.5 hours from now. So noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. I believe that would be like 5 p.m. UTC time. I got to get my time zone straight. So come back for Richard Hart. I have a bunch of more really good on the records lined up, maybe even late tonight, definitely on Monday. A lot of good people are reaching out to me. I'm reaching out to more interesting people. So that's great. On a little side note, because my record keeping is so bad, when I first started out doing consulting, I had a client from Mallorca, Spain. Please, if you're watching, if you still watch me, please reach out because I will be going to Spain and I would love to visit somewhere really, really cool. All right. On that note, Leah, back to you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. If you're in the Mid-Atlantic, don't get blown away by the winds. And till tomorrow.